Okay, so first of all, let us start with something good. So I wish you all the lovely, amazing people sitting in front of their computer screens, a very good evening in India. Hello to everyone who all are watching this and who will be watching in future. So my good wishes, my love to you all. And I really thank you all for joining in and feeling that I can do some justice to your learning about this particular amazing healing modality. That is what I always say about Scalar. This is an amazing scalar healing modality, and I really hope I can do some justice to the wonderful benefits it can do for each and every one of us present here and energetically also connected to us. Okay. So again, hello to everyone from India. I am Dr. Siddheshwar Chopra and I am from Uttar Pradesh in India, and welcome you all. So let me go through the discussion topics today. Before that, I would like to add here that any questions you have, kindly type in the Q&A section, not in the chat box, so that there is no confusion at the end of the webinar. So it will be easier for me to answer all the Q&As, and for your benefit, I have also added a large section of Q&A here in my presentation so that all of you can benefit from this also. And let me quickly start with the presentation. So it would be justice from my side if I introduce myself, what all I do and what are my interests. So here we go. I am Dr. Siddheshwar Chopra, and my academic credentials are I have done Ph.D. in experimental physics from one of the premier institutes in India, that is BITS Pilani. Prior to that, I have done my post-graduation and undergraduation from Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, Andhra Pradesh and Bangalore campuses. You must have all heard about Sri Satyasai Baba in India, Puttaparthi, and it was my privilege to study in that ashram, and lots of great learning from that place, great vibes. When I talk about vibrations, that is the reason I am in front of you. Good vibrations take you to a better learning, better life. Then after my PhD, I have taught at university level for 10 years, teaching physics to undergraduate, postgraduate and doctorate students. And during my academic responsibilities, I have also published several research papers in topmost international journals and national journals even. There are approximately 25 and more research papers. Now, this is my academic credentials, and about my energy healing work. I feel really proud to describe it to you all that from India, I am the first Spooky2 certified Rife trainer. So I have given training to several learned people, and at different stages of their diseases, they have all given very good feedback, and it's all a mutual learning, I should say. So I always believe in interactive learning. And before that, I have some certifications, and I have been constantly working in the healing line for long. So I have theta healing certifications. I am Reiki Grandmaster, and I am Access Consciousness Facilitator. I am now healing facilitator. I am Pyra Vastu consultant. I have master diploma in alternative medicines. My passion list is just endless. I work with bubble tech, pyramids, magnets, orgonites, tensor technology and Keshe technology. So it's always my goal to learn something new. That's how I came across Spooky2. So let's go to the content. What all you all will be learning today. We'll be beginning with introduction to Scalar Field technology. Under that, we'll learn about its discovery, few important points about it. Then we'll be learning about the philosophy of understanding diseases. So please pay attention here. It is diseases. Some of you must be healers, and you will connect with me very well that this is a state of dis-ease. Then we'll learn about the properties of scalar field and what are the health benefits of scalar energy. After that, we'll be getting into the technical details about Spooky2 Scalar. What are the system requirements for the software, that is the Spooky2 software, which is open source? What are the hardware specifications of Spooky2 Scalar? What are the three most important operational modes does Spooky2 Scalar offer you? And we'll get into the hardware operation after that, wherein we'll learn about the scalar tuning. What do we mean by the scalar tuning? We'll learn about how do we operate the scalar machine in three modes. These are the pure scalar mode, the molecular scalar mode, and the Rife Scalar mode. And I have not included biofeedback scan in today's webinar. That is a bit advanced topic. So that I will keep it for any other webinar that is little advanced. So at this level, I don't feel the need of describing about it. At last, we'll learn about frequency imprinting, how you can use Spooky2 Scalar for imprinting frequencies into any medium. And last but not the least, what you people love, we will have some Q&As. So I have taken up these questions and answers from the Spooky2 Scalar website so that it becomes easier for you to digest the answers. So let me start with the introduction. I just want to repeat once again, please write your Q&As only in the Q&A section, not in the chat box. That would make it easier for me. So let's go to the discovery of scalar energy. Being a physicist, it is my duty to talk about this. Who are the contributors in this, in the making of such a beautiful technology? So it is my privilege to talk about James Clerk Maxwell, who was a Scottish scientist born in 1831, who first discovered the scalar energy. Then Nikola Tesla, a Serbian American inventor and engineer born in 1856, advanced Maxwell's finding and invented machines that proved the existence of scalar energy. Then later, Albert Einstein, born in 1878, also wrote papers on scalar waves but applied to the gravitational field. In recent times, Professor Konstantin Mail has also studied scalar waves extensively in his work on vortex theory. Now, let me admit outrightly that I have read all the works by Dr. Konstantin Mail and I found it very, very, very encouraging and interesting. In fact, he is whole and sole reason why I plan to purchase Spooky2 Scalar. I read all of his works. Some of the deep physics work I tried to ignore because I love to stay at ground level and understand things in an easy fashion. His experimental results were commendable and it was really a good inspiration for me to make my choice. So I made a choice to purchase my Spooky2 Scalar and continue my experimentation. Now moving further, we are using the word scalar every time. What is scalar? What are these scalar waves? So in a nutshell, back in 1900s, Nikola Tesla discovered an electromagnetic longitudinal wave. So in the next slide, I will show you what a longitudinal wave is. It can carry out lossless transmission of energy over vast distances and pass through solid metal objects with no loss of power. Does that ring any bell? With no loss of power. It can pass through solid metal objects with no loss of power and it can transport energy without the need of wires. In 21st century, it is now called scalar waves. How simple is that? Yes, my friends, everything powerful in this universe is actually very simple. Just that it has been explained in a complicated fashion. So what is important to us is learn the basics of this wonderful technology and get started with it. Start using it, because if we continue analyzing, we don't start using it. Give me permission to share this. This is an image which I have got from Professor Mayle's scalar experiment, and this is the hardwired diagram to understand what spooky scalar is all about. Okay, in general, any scalar experiment is all about this simple setup. If you pay attention here, I would like to spend few minutes in showing you what this is doing exactly, so that you get a feel of how the scalar waves are produced. So you see here, we start from transmitter side. So you have two sections of the scalar device. One section is called the transmitter, another section is called the receiver. On the transmitter side, you have two coils here. One is called the primary coil, which has lesser number of turns, and there is a secondary coil which is looking like a spring here, vertical spring, and it has large number of turns compared to the primary coil. Now the primary coil is connected to a high frequency generator. It provides oscillations to the secondary coil, which is in turn connected to a ball electrode. It's a metallic electrode, in fact, I should say. And the secondary coil other terminal is connected to a cable. You can remember one word for now. It is called link cable. Why? It is linking the two coils. That is why it is called link cable. It is linking transmitter and receiver coil. This is the link cable which goes to the receiver coil, which is exactly a replica of the transmitter setup. The only difference is now you don't have the high frequency generator on the receiver side. Can you notice that? You don't have a high frequency generator here. So basically, this is a very simple setup of scalar machine. All the tuning part, how do you set it up, where is scalar field generated, we'll discuss very shortly. But I wanted to give you a feel of, once you have the scalar machine with you, what all does it contain. So let me move ahead now. So continuing with what scalar waves are. Scalar waves are instantaneous longitudinal waves that encompass the field. They do not propagate along an axis or have a direction, unlike the electromagnetic waves, which are transverse in nature and travel along an axis in a known direction. This is just a visual representation for the layman. What is a longitudinal wave? So longitudinal wave is something very close to our heart. These are by default healing in nature for us. Why? Because these are the sound waves which every day we hear. We are used to these waves, so we are familiar with these waves. What are the characteristics of a longitudinal wave? You see, there are components of compression and expansion in the direction of motion of the wave, in the direction of the propagation of wave. So if this is our ear, then wave energy is propagated in this direction. On the contrary, transverse waves these are the normal waves. Day to day we come across these waves, like from the television. This is a simple example. So these are the transverse waves where the motion of the particle is perpendicular to the direction of propagation of wave. Okay, this is just to give you a feel of what do we mean by a longitudinal wave and what do we mean by a transverse wave. What are the properties of scalar field? I hope you all know what is a scalar and what is a vector. Vector is the one which has a magnitude and direction, right? And scalar is the one which has only magnitude and no direction. Continuing with that definition, scalar energy expands outward in a circular fashion. Unlike the electromagnetic waves, scalar waves do not decay over time or distance from the source. How does that sound to you? It sounds exciting to me, okay? Because the normal electromagnetic waves decrease, square of the radius, square of the distance from the source. That is how the normal electromagnetic waves behave. They decrease by square of the distance away from the source. But this is not the case with scalar waves. How exciting is that? You will learn about this very soon. I will show you an image, then we can discuss about this particular point. Current modern equipments are not sufficient to measure this scalar field. So if you wish to measure it, it's quite difficult. It's not required at the time. We can get started with using the scalar. Forget about the analysis for now. Another property is these pass through the solid matter like metals easily. These are capable of carrying information. What is a human being? What are we basically? Can anybody tell me? I know you all are muted. Connect with me energetically. We are nothing but light and information. We are vibrating beings. We are just dense vibrations. So just imagine, here you have a modality. Here you have a modality with you, which is capable of carrying information. How exciting does that sound to you? We'll discuss this very shortly. Next, these are highly coherent in nature, hence brings harmony. Scalar waves or the scalar field is highly coherent in nature and hence brings harmony. What does it mean? What is a coherent wave? What is an incoherent wave? A coherent wave is which continues without losing its phase relationship for a long time, okay? But an incoherent wave is exactly the vice versa. So, usually we say, to each other, come on man, talk something coherent, behave like a coherent person, behave in a coherent way. So what we are doing is, we are saying be continuous, fluctuation free. There is no fluctuation. So coherence is something we all need in our life, and that is what scalar field provides you. My dear friend Jeff Kaxer from Spooky2 group, he's one of my motivations. I learn a lot from him. I think one of his posts, he shared his beautiful experience that he switches on scalar in his house almost throughout the day for maybe how many months, and he has found that the electricity in his house, the power consumption has gone down. The chaos which the magnetic radiations bring to us, thanks to the discoverer, it reduces the chaos. That is the beauty of scalar field. It reduces the chaos, be it your body, be it your surroundings. How beautiful is that? So let me continue with what is the philosophy of understanding diseases. Our bodies consist of network of energy channels. You must be thinking, what is an energy channel? We are talking about meridians, the acupuncture meridians, acupressure meridians, whatever you want to call them. So these are the network of energy channels in our body, right from top to bottom. This energy system, popularly known as chi or prana, is responsible for making us feel healthy and energized, not just at the physical level, but also on an emotional, mental, and spiritual level. Now, how beautiful is that? How many of the healing modalities you have come across, you all are learned people present here, actually heal you at such deep levels without much of a learning curve? Let me add that here. I am a physicist, and trust me, it is one of the easiest modalities I've come across. The root cause of any disease is a blockage in our energetic pathways or the chakras. What are chakras? These are spiral forms of energy vortices. in the body. Okay, these are the spiral forms of energy vortices. I'm again using the word vortex, vortices. We'll relate it very soon. Keep at the back of your mind. Now, once the local energy level falls below a critical threshold, the onset of a chronic illness is nearby. And if the situation is not corrected, the condition could get worsen over time. You all agree with that? The later we start handling the issue, the bigger it gets, and the more difficult it is to cure or to even address. Forget about curing. So what is basically happening when our energetic pathways are blocked? How do these energetic pathways get blocked? As I said, many of you must be healers. What is happening? Why does this blockage occur? Because of our emotions, because of our beliefs. So what are emotions? These are just some sort of magnetic fields in the body, and when the chi is flowing in a proper direction and we have some sort of emotions, I am no one to judge any emotion for you. You are the best judge. So our emotions are external magnetic fields which you have imported thanks to your surroundings, thanks to our surroundings. And those magnetic fields start disrupting the natural flow of your chi or prana. What happens then? Your cellular voltage gets lowered, gets changed, gets modified. Okay, so we need some external sources to take care of that. Despite interruption by blockages, our body still retains the memory of healthy chi through the cellular communication. How sweet is that? Our body still retains the memory of healthy chi through the cellular communication. Our body is 70% water, and in one of my presentations earlier, I discussed about the amazing work, the wonderful work by Masaru Emoto, the Japanese scientist. A lot of respect for him. I have read his wonderful work on water molecules, that it retains memory. I need not go in details with that. Water molecule retains the memory. What memory? Of the emotions, of the surroundings. It's a liquid crystal. Okay. So if we have 70% water in our body, what are we? We are also liquid crystals, isn't it? So we do retain what we gather from surroundings, what we drink, what we eat. Now, our body cells communicate with scalar fields, right? So if some of you have attended my earlier webinars on maybe biofeedback scan or the initial discussion about Spooky2 devices, I also talked about tuning fork. So, tuning forks, you vibrate one tuning fork, other tuning fork starts vibrating. So you can take that vibration as a scalar field, the scalar communication. That is how body cells communicate. They talk to each other, right? When this communication gets blocked, our health suffers. Thanks to the trans fats we people eat, thanks to the trans fats, which are a plastic coating, and these cover our cells. When we are hungry, what do? I'm younger than you maybe. So when I'm hungry, mom, give me food. Mom gives me food. She prepares food. She gets it for me. I eat it and become healthy. Thanks to her vibrations, thanks to her love. Okay. But what is key here? When I called up my mom, prepare food for me, she heard that. She acknowledged that I want food, right? Now imagine. And also I was receptive. I was open to receiving that food. Now imagine our cells are covered with all sorts of toxins, all sorts of trans fats, plastic. Food arrives, a cell has asked for food. I want nutrients. The food arrives, but it does not reach. Why? Because there is a coating on the cell. The cellular voltage has gone down due to some chi blockage. How does that sound? The scalar field enhance the communication between the cells. So you are getting a deeper level of healing. You are making the body start working on its own. Come on, turn the switch on, start working, make me healthy. That is what you are doing. Mitochondria are the power stations of cells. Scalar fields charge the mitochondria. Now, this is highlighted for you all. Spooky2 Scalar transmitter not only transmits energy but also takes energy from the ether. What is ether? It is the space around the nucleus and electrons of molecules. Some people think of ether as air, but air itself is composed of molecules. Okay, so ether is a subtle energy. On the internet, you will find several free energy devices, free energy converters, over unity converters, but technically speaking, these devices are actually extracting energy from ether. The prime law of physics says that energy cannot be created, it can only be transformed from one form to another. So, what is that form? From ether, you are converting it to your scalar field communication and whatever we are going to discuss now. Okay. Ether is the most beautiful concept I have ever come across. So let us continue. What are the health benefits of scalar field? Continuing with the previous slide, health benefits are scalar field provides energy to the cells. It stimulates cellular growth in human immune system. In the current testing times, the health benefits of scalar field must be inspiring to you, isn't it? We all have come through, I should say, or fought through this pandemic, and you all have done very well. And I again congratulate you for attending this webinar. That shows your inner strength to fight what is not for our highest good. Okay. So you all have to understand that it is beneficial to our body. It improves cell wall permeability. It supports communication between cells. It restores healthy state of the body. It improves memory. It reduces the harmful effects of EMF from XYZ sources. And my favorite one is it improves sleep, hence effective in depression, etc. It repairs DNA. It repairs DNA. Okay. It enhances plant health and growth. One of my friends who is a wonderful healer, who is a wonderful scalar practitioner, I love her energy. She's from US and she keeps her scalar on forever. And she has told that the plants in her house are growing like wild. So I was like, wow, so you are living in a forest. So few points are from her experience. I respect her for that. The key to healing is information, or I should precisely say scalar information. As I mentioned in my earlier slide, scalar is capable of carrying information where from one place to another. Okay, I have kept a secret here. We'll discuss very shortly. So the key to healing is information, which is the scalar information. And what is every object? I just now told you it is, we are nothing but light and information, right? Spooky2 Scalar can restore our body's natural healing mechanism by charging the body and offering it the much needed energy to open and remove the energetic blockages. Spooky2 Scalar is the first scalar energy device to provide 3 different modes of sending healing scalar waves, right? There is a popular traditional Chinese medicine saying, so I could not stop myself from telling this. Where there is free flow, my friend, there is no pain or dis-ease. So let me take you to the hardware operation straight away. Okay, so now you get two boxes. There is another slide I have made. I'll show you that very soon. But you get two boxes. One is called the transmitter, another one is called the receiver. And I think I have already explained what a transmitter and receiver is in the earlier slide. Okay, so let me go to the hardware details straight away on the transmitter panel. And let me tell you frankly that this is the most complicated one. Okay, you see how many controls are there? Very limited controls. Any person can learn this quickly in a jiffy, So this is the transmitter panel. This is one of the boxes. You have one frequency display here. This is a LCD display. One is the link cable connector. You remember I told you about the earth connection, the link cable, and I said I'll come back to it later. So this is the link cable connector. Then you have the power port. This is the power port where you will be connecting your DC adapter. This is the BNC connector for connecting your generator X, any frequency generator basically. Now this is the off and on knob which you have to turn to off and on. It's not a button, it's a knob. Okay, so you have to turn it to switch it on. This is the most important knob which you should not ignore. This is called the tuning adjustment knob. This is what we'll be using to tune to the scalar field. We'll discuss what do we mean by tuning very shortly. Now this is a small LED which is going to change its brightness as we tune the scalar point, as we tune to the scalar point in fact. Okay, so this LED is quite bright and it can show you the transition of the brightness very easily. This is a very good LED, right? So this is called the output coil. I'll come back to why it is called output coil very soon. Don't get confused. So this is called the output coil, and you see a small gray circle on this coil. This is away from the center. Please note it. This small gray circle is somewhere on the one side of the circular disc, circular coil. Okay. So this is all about your transmitter panel. Only these controls you have. Next we go to the receiver panel. Now you see receiver panel has almost nothing. This is clean, very clean. So you find here the power cable with the adapter. You have the link cable which is gonna connect transmitter to the receiver. Please pay attention. Okay. Now you have an LED here. It is a circular LED with a push button. Okay, so this is a push button. You have to push it down and then the light will glow in a circular fashion. It's a disc. Then you have a similar looking coil as we saw in the transmitter panel. It's called the input coil. Now again pay attention that there is a small circle away from the center, right? And whatever you keep, any molecule, anything, you have to keep on this smaller circle. The last one is the link cable connector. So this is exactly like the one we had in the transmitter panel. So this is what you have to connect the link cable to. Now let us learn about how to tune the Spooky2 Scalar. Now these are the boxes I'm talking about. You have to have the transmitter box and the receiver box, right? So what you have to do is you have to place the transmitter and receiver on either side of a chair or bed. For the demonstration purpose here, I haven't included the distance, but in my next slide you will have a look exactly how you have to place it. So it has to be placed in this fashion, in this L shape. You have to open the lid of the transmitter and open the lid of the receiver and face them with L side facing to each other, the vertical side. Then you have to connect the 12-volt power adapter to the transmitter power port. So this is the power port we are talking about here. You have to connect the adapter to your power supply straight away. And then you have to connect the link cable from the transmitter link cable connector port to the receiver link cable connector port. Is that fine? It is that simple. Okay. Of course, you have to now turn on the Spooky2 Scalar, and then you have to tune the transmitter now. How do you tune the transmitter? So what do I mean by tuning? You see here, you have to use the tuning adjustment knob which is available on the transmitter panel and turn it anti-clockwise. Okay? You cannot do it otherwise, right? When you begin, it will only turn anti-clockwise. You have to turn it that fashion such that the tuning light beside the output coil, this is the one here, you can see this is bright right now. It achieves brightness for the first time. When you are turning it anti-clockwise, it should become bright for the first time. That means the maximum brightness. Okay. Usually it has been found that the frequency, that scalar tuned frequency is somewhere between 5 to 7 megahertz. Okay. So when I go to the technical specifications, I will tell you about it. So usually it comes down in this range. Now this is a very important graph which you have to note down, or you can understand from the presentation itself. Anyways, it will be uploaded on the YouTube channel, so you can all have a look at it at a later point of time. Now you see the frequency range of Spooky2 Scalar is from 0 to 8 megahertz. That is visible on this graph in the x-axis. This is 0 to 8 megahertz. And the y-axis is nothing but the LED brightness. Okay. So you can either say this is the voltage of the LED or the luminescence of the LED, whatever you want to say, that is a y-axis. Now, what do I mean by scalar tuning is once you turn on the knob on the transmitter panel, what you are going to see is 8 megahertz on the LCD display. Okay. And as said, you have to turn it anti-clockwise, isn't it? So once you turn it anti-clockwise, which is represented by this red color arrow, which is the anti-clockwise direction, you are gonna decrease the frequency from 8 megahertz megahertz, right? And the first LED brightness, maximum brightness, is your scalar tuning point. So I have put a tick mark. Tick mark, I am a professor. Tick or cross. So when we go below this value, why this is important for you to understand is because some people by mistake go to this point, right? So you have to understand the basics so that it gets easier for you to sail through the scalar, right? So you have to tune it to the maximum brightness, and by mistake you go further, the LED brightness decreases to a non-zero value, and then it again increases to a high value. It may or may not be same to the scalar tuning brightness, okay, the maximum brightness. It may be different, and if you go below further, it is going to decrease to zero value. So if by mistake you go to the EMF tuning point, which is the second one, this is not the scalar tuning point, okay? So you have to make sure, if you are confused, then you can turn off the Spooky2 Scalar and start all over again. It's very simple, no confusion. Trust me, there is hardly anything in which you can go wrong with scalar. So that is why I love this technology so much. Thanks to John White, thanks to everyone. So you have to go anti-clockwise from 8 megahertz, and the first maximum brightness is the one you are looking for. Okay, so I assume you have understood the scalar tuning point. So let me go further now. Now, this is how you have to place your transmitter and receiver. Thanks to the beautiful lady in the picture. She is one of the Spooky2 team members. So thanks to her for giving this beautiful photo so that we can all understand how to tune the scalar, how to set it up. So you see here, this is something you all have to pay attention to. This is the transmitter box and this is the receiver box, and you have to maintain 1.5 to 2 feet distance from both the lids, transmitter and receiver. I hope I am clear with this. So you have to maintain 1.5 to 2 feet distance from both the lids. Okay, approximately at least you should maintain 6 feet distance between the transmitter and receiver, right? This is what you have to maintain. You may ask why so? Because in this particular range you will find electromagnetic field dominant. Okay, near the transmitter and receiver lids you will find the EMF field dominant. So please do not stay in this area. But as we discussed earlier, electromagnetic field reduces with square of the distance between the source and the object. Okay, so it decreases now. So this area you get scalar field. Another important precaution you have to take is the link cable, what you are gonna connect with the transmitter and the receiver, between the transmitter and receiver, you should not coil it, you should not turn it around, right? So keep it straight and simple. Life is straight and simple, and keep it away from metallic objects. only the link cable, right? So now, how does the scalar field look like? This is an image, I should say a popular image. How does the scalar field behave? How does it look like? You won't be able to see it, right? You won't be able to see it. Don't try to look at it. But it is like an egg shaped. So it is gonna increase at the center of the setup. So it is gonna increase here. So why am I showing you this diagram? If you have, there are people, wonderful people who have scalarized their entire house. Of course, you need a longer link cable. So I would suggest when you place your order, when you decide to place your order of Spooky2 Scalar, you have to order the extended link cable too. Okay, or if they provide by default, you have to just cross check once, and it will be preferred if you can order a longer cable so that you don't have to again order it. Because if you prefer to scalarize your entire house, then you will be needing a longer cable. Why do I say that you have to scalarize your house? Because it is going to harmonize the energies in your house, right? So the larger the distance between the transmitter and receiver, the larger the size of the scalar field becomes. That is what people have reported. That is what we have seen. Okay. So I hope you all can scalarize your entire house. Now, this is a beautiful video which someone shared on the group also, which I must show you. This is from the channel, from the YouTube channel Smarter Every Day. So I have edited this video so that it does not consume too much time. And basically this video is showing us two vortex rings colliding in slow motion. So I really thank the entire team, the Smarter Everyday team, who have taken pains. They have taken several years to set up this beautiful experiment. And this experiment will actually give you a feel how the scalar field is generated, right? So how the scalar information is generated all over the space, independent of independent of the direction. So just have a look at it. So one, you can take it as a transmitter on the right hand side, one you can take it as a receiver on the left hand side, and just see the energy vortices, how they collide and result in scalar field. So those of you who want to see this video entirely, I have provided the link to the YouTube channel, to the video directly. So you can go and have a look at this beautifully made video. Thanks to the team again. Now, previously we talked about how do you set up the scalar field. So we did not place anything on the coil yet, did we? I don't remember. So that field is called the pure scalar mode. So that was the first operational mode you learnt. How difficult was that? It was very easy, right? So once or twice if you practice, you will get hold of it. It is very simple, very easy. Now, let me go to the hardware operation of the second most popular mode, which is the molecular scalar mode. As the name suggests, it is simple that we are placing a molecule, some substance, or a combination of substances. Okay, people are fond of essential oils, my healer friends. So you can combine all the essential oils and then keep on the scalar coil. How do you place? We'll learn now. So as we discussed earlier, again you have to set up the transmitter and receiver on either side of a chair or bed. Again you have to connect the 12-volt power adapter to the transmitter power port. Then you have to connect the link cable into the transmitter and receiver link connectors. Please understand, unless you connect the link cable, you are not going to generate a scalar field. So if you tune by mistake without connecting the link cable, you are not doing anything. You are just changing the frequency. Okay? So just please keep in mind. Now, once you have set up the scalar field, I again show the same image. What you have to do now is, you have to keep the substance, the molecule, the essential oil on the receiver coil. Okay, you have to keep it on the receiver coil on top of the gray circle, which I mentioned earlier to you when I was discussing about the receiver and the transmitter coil. Okay, so there you have to keep the substance, and that is called the receiver coil or the input coil. That is called the input coil. Do not get confused. You can write it down. The receiver coil is called the input coil, where you have to input any substance, and where this substance is outputted, it is outputted in your body and outputted onto the transmitter, right? So that is why the transmitter is called the output coil. Okay, so now we have to turn on and tune the transmitter. So you have placed the substance on the receiver coil and you have tuned it to the scalar point, as we learnt earlier. Okay, and then you sit between the transmitter and receiver lids to get the curative effect of the substance. Now you should also pay attention here that when you place a substance on the input coil, the capacitance of the coil is going to change. So it is going to shift the tuning point, and if you sit inside the field, so it is always preferred if you have a second person who can tune it for you while you are sitting in the field. So it would be ideal, but usually I don't find one easily, so I do it myself. Okay, so that is what you can do. So that is the molecular scalar mode. How difficult was that now? You have to just place a substance on input coil and then tune to the scalar point, and there you go. You get the information, the frequency of the substance directly transported to your cellular structure. How amazing is that? The final mode is called the Rifescala mode, but for the purpose of this simple presentation, I have not included the biofeedback scan which can be done and you can do what not with the scalar mode. So today I've kept it very simple for you all so that you can digest it and make your choice, make your decision whether you want to buy scalar or not. So going to the Rifescala mode, some people have asked, I want to transmit some frequencies to my body, say DNA repair frequency, DNA integrate, stimulate, whatever that frequency is, the 528 hertz, which is a popular frequency, right? Say I want solfeggio frequencies 174, 396. I want my specific frequencies transmitted through the scalar and going to my body. I want that. I don't want just pure scalar. I don't want just molecular scalar. Maybe I'm more advanced. So how do you do that? It's very simple. Now, what you have to do now is, apart from all the other connections, or let me quickly read up here. Once Spooky2 Scalar is tuned, so of course the previous steps are still valid. You have to make all the connections. You have to turn on the DC power supply. You have to turn on the Spooky2 Scalar. You have to tune to the scalar point. And at the same time, now one more connection you have to make, and that connection is your Bnc connector. This is the Bnc connector which goes to the Bnc connector port of the transmitter. That is the third connector available, right? So there we discussed earlier that it is the optional generator. So this is the one I was talking about. So you connect your Spooky2 generator here to the out one of, say, G1. That is the generator 1 of the generator X. Generator X has two generators, G1 and G2, and each generator has two ports. One is out 1 and out 2. Other one also has out 1 and out 2. So by default, I'm talking about the out 1 of generator 1, generator of the generator X. Okay. Now, if you have seen my earlier webinars or maybe some other videos, there you would have learnt about how to save specific programs of your choice into the generator X. So you can save your specific programs into the generator X and run the generator X in standalone mode without the need of any laptop, right? But if you don't know that procedure, then you can as well operate generator X straight away using your laptop. But for that, you will have to connect your one more cable, which goes, I think it is by the side of the power connector. It's a printer cable, I think. So that cable goes to your laptop, and there you can operate it using the Spooky2 software straight away. Okay. So then you can straight away select the G1 port and transmit the frequencies. But please, I repeat here again that you have to tune the Spooky2 scalar to the scalar point. You have to tune it to the scalar point. Then it starts transmitting. It starts modulating the input frequency here, and you receive the curative effect of these frequencies directly going to the cellular structure, your cellular structure. Okay. So this is the third mode, which is the Rife Scalar, wherein you can supply your own preferred frequencies to your body through the scalar field. Now, another beauty of this mode is, of course, there is an option of scalar digitizer, which is not the part of this presentation today. And you can save your biofeedback scan results, right? So One way, if I say, you can also use it for killing purpose, killing pathogens, right? So if you have your biofeedback scan results stored into the generator X, then using the same method what I've discussed right now, you are able to transfer the biofeedback scan frequencies to your body using scalar. So you can do that even. Now, frequency imprinting with Spooky2 Scalar. How fascinating does this sound? But let me tell you, my friends, this is very simple when you are talking about Spooky2 Scalar. So frequency imprinting with Spooky2 Scalar is like this. That simple. What you have to do, you can do this in the pure scalar mode, in the molecular scalar mode, and in the Rife Scalar mode. All the three modes you can do imprinting. What you have to do is, you have to just put a glass of water on the output coil. What is the output coil? I want to hear you. Oops, you are muted. Output coil is the transmitter coil. Okay. There you have to put a glass of water, and there you get the scalar frequency in your body straight away. Okay. You put a glass of water on the output coil, and when you are using the pure scalar mode, molecular scalar mode, Rife Scalar mode, the frequencies travel from receiver through your body to the transmitter coil or the output coil, and that mixture, energetic mixture of the substance, pure scalar, your body, one way, goes to the water straight away. So what is happening is, you can drink this water. Okay, you can drink this water after your scalar session. It will enhance the benefit of your scalar treatment or scalar session, I should say. Okay, it is gonna enhance your scalar session experience. Now, please remember that when you put this glass of water, you are again gonna change the capacitance of the coil. So you will have to retune it. Okay, and tuning is very simple. So what you just now have is the scalarized water. That is very powerful for you. Now, some important notes about the scalar. Tune scalar before each session. Why is it important? The tuning point may vary each day according to the temperature and humidity, as well as the layout of the machine. This is very simple because capacitance is gonna change with the environmental conditions. Okay, so this is something you will have to remember for every session without fail. Now, there is a tuning light on the receiver panel. If you remember, I told you in my earlier slides that there is a push button and there is a ring of red light which will be visible. Now, that light is basically an indicator for you that once you set up the scalar field, how do you set up the scalar field? You have to turn the knob on the transmitter anti-clockwise, and then you have the scalar point at the maximum LED brightness. So at that point, if you are happy with the scalar field, you can go to the receiver panel and confirm by pushing this button on the receiver panel, and the light will glow. If the LED glows, the red LED, then that means you have set up the scalar field. Okay, and please remember this LED is going to suck up some power of the scalar field. So when I'm taking a session with this scalar, I don't want scalar field to be wasted anywhere. Would you like that? I won't. So please turn off the receiver tuning light during scalar session. You have to turn it off. Now, the third point is the transmitter and receiver lids should be facing each other. I have drawn a diagram for you. I'm a good artist too. So this is how you keep the receiver and transmitter. Okay. And on the receiver, you have the substance placed. Now, this is fourth point is I've already told you, keep the link cable between the transmitter and receiver away from metal. Now, Spooky2 Scalar should not be used during pregnancy or if having pacemaker. This is for precaution's sake. I am not saying that it gives negative effects, but no one wants to take chances when you have these conditions. Okay. Overnight treatments are perfectly safe with scalar. And this is my favorite one. It does not give you frequency fatigue from overexposure. How amazing is this? So if normally if you see with the frequency research, with the frequency work, we get frequency fatigued, right? But we don't know the dosage of the frequency we have to take. So sometimes we get tired, what is happening to us. So scalar fields, because this is such a coherent field, you do not get frequency fatigued. So body takes whatever it needs and it leaves out the rest. It's best not to share the scalar field with anyone who has serious illness. Please note here, this is again a precautionary one. Okay. This is again a precautionary one. No one wants to take chances. Why? Because scalar transmits information. Okay. So we don't want to take chance. But however, people have reported, sleeping with the spouse, with your spouse, you are not getting any negative effects. People have reported this also. So I'm not saying this is negative, but if you can, please avoid it. Now, okay, Bnc cable provided along with the kit can be used to connect the Spooky2 generator to experience the Rife Scalar sessions. So this is what I've explained already to you. So this was all about the hardware operation. Just few technical details that how does Spooky2 Scalar work is, the transmitter is basically generating a signal, sine wave signal, and it sends it to the receiver through one wire. What is that wire called? It is the link cable. Okay. So transmitter is generating a sine signal and sending to the receiver coil. That is why it is called the input coil. So the receiver is face to face with the transmitter such that it inverts the signal received from the transmitter. So if you are going to get this wave from the transmitter, once it bounces back from the receiver, it takes an opposite path, right? So basically these are the inverted waves now, 180-degree phase shift. So the wave gets cancelled and then you have the scalar field, what we saw in the video. These two signals cancel each other and leave behind the scalar field. What are the specifications of the software? Some of you who are new to this modality, Spooky2 software is a open source software thanks to John White and team. It's one of the state of art software I've ever seen till now. and which is continuously updated, and the team puts so much effort to update these frequencies, thanks to everyone. But you need Windows operating system, either 32-bit or 64-bit. You need Windows operating system. But if you wish to run it on Linux, then you will have to install some third-party software, some VMware or whatever. You will have to install Windows over Linux and then continue. Okay. You need very little RAM of 512 MB. Hard disk space 100 MB is required, and any processors Intel dual core or later are sufficient to run this. And you need generator X when you need to operate Scalar in Rifescala mode. So once you buy the Scalar kit, you get transmitter and receiver with these sizes. The entire weight is approximately 11 kgs. There is a 12-volt power adapter. Current specification is 2 amperes, and input current maximum is 0.6 amperes, and frequency range is 1 to 8 megahertz. Pardon me, I just showed on the graph which is 0 to 8. Okay, that's fine. It's 1 to 8 megahertz. And the frequency step size, I talked about the tuning knob anti-clockwise. So the tuning knob changes frequency in the step of 50,000 hertz. And the scalar flow, the current is basically just 30 milliamps. So that's very small current. And once you buy the Spooky2 Scalar kit, you get transmitter, receiver, 12-volt adapter, link cable, and a Bnc cable. So if you have to order extended link cable, which is a longer size, maybe Yura can tell you what is the size of the cable in the chat box. As we discussed already, it is possible to operate it in 3 modes: pure scalar, molecular scalar, and Rife Scalar, with all different beautiful possibilities and benefits. Okay. So pure scalar is the simplest for you. It is the simplest. You can just tune the Spooky2 Scalar and sit in this field. It is that simple. Even my parents do it very easily. So it should be good for you. So molecular scalar is, we are just keeping a molecule, some substance on the receiver coil and sit between the transmitter and receiver lids, and you get the curative effect of the molecules. And Rifescala mode is, either you want to transmit specific frequencies into your body with the scalar field, or you want to perform biofeedback scan. Okay. So let me quickly go on to the question and answer session. So here you have, I'll read it out for you, why it's recommended to put water to imprint on the transmitter, while substances to transmit molecular information should be placed on the receiver. Good question. So the energy flows from the transmitter to the receiver, as I explained recently, then backwards. There is no scalar field until it hits the receiver, and then it returns back to the transmitter. Therefore, in order to add a substance information to the field, the first entry point is the receiver coil or the output coil or the input coil. Okay. That information is then carried back to the transmitter. Once at the transmitter, the information can be imprinted to whatever is on the transmitter coil or the output coil. I hope it is clear. How long does it take to imprint water? Beautiful. That's a very important question. It takes only few minutes, perhaps 3 minutes or more. That's all. Because it is, the scalar field is independent of space and time, right? Independent of direction. So it is, the moment you set the scalar tuning point, the information is transferred at the same instance. But depending on the quantity of the water, you can have different amount of time for imprinting. Another question is, can I be in scalar field while imprinting frequencies into water? Yes, why not? The water frequency will then be tailor-made for you, since it will also contain the natural frequencies of your body. It is definitely beneficial. How long will the imprinted drops remain energized? Once I imprint a bottle of distilled water with a substance using scalar, maybe 2 to 3 months max. It will just get weaker with time. Another question is, will it be overdose when doing imprinting water? So answer is, there shouldn't be any concern about overdoing the imprinting, since with the scalar fields, your body and the water substance will take what it needs and discard everything in excess. Another question is, does Spooky2 Scalar have any adverse effect on metal implants in the body? No. Spooky2 Scalar will not interfere with metal implants, since scalar field pass straight through the metal. Okay, so no worries about it. Next question is, can I run any other programs on remote mode, cold laser, PEMF, tense pads, staying in the scalar fields? Yes, you can. You can complement your treatment, your session with the scalar fields. Absolutely fine. Next question is, I know Spooky2 remote is also using scalar field. What is the difference between remote and scalar? Perfect. It's a very good question. Spooky2 remote is extremely low power. The information is transferred using quantum entanglement of DNA in the remote. Spooky2 Scalar works directly with the target using high power levels. Okay. So basically, if I have to explain about the remote, if you people have seen remote, it's a flap like this. So if I tear apart the flap, if I open up the remote, so you find the transmitter coil and the receiver coil linked with the link cable, okay, and connected to the generator, right? So this is a beautiful scalar setup which is designed to give your DNA the scalar field, the session, the Rife session, okay? But if you open it apart, that is what John has done. I hope I'm correct in this. So forgive me, John, if anything is missing in this. There is a constant learning going on. So if I move this apart and I make it Spooky2 Scalar, I add higher power levels. So this becomes your Spooky2 Scalar. Okay. Next question is, do you become dependent on scalar? If you go out of scalar, would you get fatigued? No. Simple answer is no. No further explanation. What is the function of the push button on the receiver? I think I have already told you this. It is just to confirm if the scalar field has been generated or not. Okay. So that's fine, but you should turn it off once the scalar field has been set up. The next question is, Spooky2 Scalar makes me sleepy for hours after I leave the field. I sometimes sweat a lot, get a sore throat, and breathing heavily. Is it normal? Answer is, this is an indication of detox and healing while beginning with scalar. Healing and rejuvenation happen when you sleep. It's your parasympathetic nervous system which comes dominant, and when you are awake, your sympathetic nervous system dominates. Okay, so this is very normal. In few days, this shall pass. You should start feeling more energized instead of sleepy, right? Can scalar machine be used remotely? Of course, yes. I just now explained to you how Spooky2 remote is a smaller example of the Spooky2 scalar. Okay. So yes, you can put your DNA sample, and even some people have used Polaroid photographs, which is nothing but entangled photons in the middle of the scalar field, and then put any essential oil on the receiver. But this is up to you to experiment it. I would like to know your results too. Okay. It should get transferred to the remote person instantly. Can children use Spooky2 Scalar? Yes. However, we recommend that children above 7 years old should use it. Can we run Spooky2 Scalar 24/7 for several weeks? Absolutely yes, you can. What about pets that join the person that is being treated? Is it okay or not? If it is your own pet, which you have spent most time with, your energy has been entangled already. It should be fine. Okay. Next is, can we use mobiles, computers while using scalar? You can. But it might require retuning the scalar. Okay. Next question is, should the receiver light not dim when I put my hand in front of the lid, not touching the lid? Yes, the light will dim slightly due to the capacitance of the hand. This is a very important question. People are scared that if a bacteria or virus, bacteria, parasite is inside the scalar field, will it absorb scalar field and get stronger? So the answers are, the first point, laboratory testing and studies performed by Dr. Konstantin Mehl indicate that the scalar fields help human cells but are detrimental to bacteria and parasites. How does that sound to you? Isn't it exciting? The second point is, no, it will not make the parasite stronger. Please look at your body as a whole. When your body is strong, it will deal with the parasites itself. So that is another point of view to understand this situation. People are too concerned about the 5G, the EMF stuff. So that is why I added this question. How does Spooky2 Scalar help in 5G? Okay, with 5G. First one is, 5G does cell damage. So you should use appropriate programs for recovery. The team recommends a couple of programs for EMF relief. There could be more added maybe, but these are the few ones I found. It's called Detox EMF, Electrical Sensitivity Reduce, DNA Heal, Radiation Burns 2, Resveratrol, Attenuate Cell Danger Response. So these are few programs useful for you. Another question is, do we need to change settings for different diseases? Answer is, once the transmitter and receiver are tuned, no other settings need to be changed. However, different diseases may require different chemicals on the receiver coil. Okay. So this is different chemicals on the receiver coil. So say you have any essential oil, any drug with you, you can keep it on the receiver coil and get the curative effect specific for some particular disease. So being a healer, I've recently bought few essential oils. So essential oils such as frankincense is a good general purpose healing compound. Placing this oil with a drug can be very effective in treating bad cells. Okay. Some people, I think, even responded well in cancerous situations with the frankincense oil. Another question is, Can I place a urine sample on the receiver coil with essential oils in the urine? Answer is, you should put the urine and the oil on the receiver coil to have any effect. Okay, so what people do is they mix the medicine or whatever you call it in the urine and then put it on the receiver coil. So people have reported better results with this. The transmitter coil is to input substances into water or another substance for future use. Second point, just be careful. Yeah, this is very important point. That is why I've mentioned here that this glass or any other glass substance contains no lead at all, right? Lead is a heavy metal, not good for our body. So please try to avoid lead, and the only way to know is to ask the manufacturer. However, Pyrex is supposed to be fine. Pyrex glass is supposed to be fine. You can use that. Oh, we are at the end of the presentation. So thank you to everyone for patient listening. And here are the resources for you all, for the curious minds, and may these help you in making your decision that you want to buy Scalar or not. So these are few resources I have listed here. So you can have a look at these resources. Here you can get hold of me. I do offer one-on-one Spooky2 training on all the modalities. So on all the products, what Spooky2 offers. So you can get hold of me on these places: Facebook, Instagram. I have my YouTube channel where I post frequency based videos. Many are Spooky2 oriented, and you can catch me on Gmail, and you can get in touch with me in case if you have queries or if you want to book your one-on-one training sessions. So I encourage you all to have a look at this wonderful healing modality. And from my heart, I was successful in scalarizing you a bit. So thank you everyone from my heart for patient listening.